Hey BookTube, here is my chicklitathon wrap-up. I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks, and yeah, May has been a couple of weeks ago, and so the whole month of May was the chicklitathon, which is a readathon that is hosted by Sophie at All Things Equilateral, and I have co-hosted with her, and also Lisa at Books and Smiles. And so you had all month to read chick lit, all kinds of chick lit, and there were some challenges, and so I'll tell you what those were and what I read. First of all, read a Sophie Kinsella book. So I picked up Wedding Night by Sophie Kinsella because that's all I had on my shelves. This is the only book of hers that I own, and now it's just the second one that I've read. I've read one other one that she wrote. This is British rom-com, and it was really entertaining. It is narrated on audio by Jane Entwistle and Fiona Hardingham and Mark Bramhall. And this is all about a woman who, when she breaks up with someone she has been with, she makes stupid decisions and does dumb things that she regrets. And so she is convinced that her significant other is going to propose, and he's not, so she breaks up with him right then. Then she connects with an old friend and decides they should get married and then go to Greece to revisit the time that they spent there right after college. It was like a summer. And so her older sister has seen her do these dumb things and regret them over and over. So the title, Wedding Night, refers to her sister trying to prevent this wedding night between the main character and this guy this old friend that she's decided to marry from happening. So it is just silly, it is laughable, it's all of the things that Sophie Kinsella can do really well. So loved the narration. All three of those British narrators are wonderful, and I love them. When I've heard them before, I've really appreciated them. So yes, I loved the narration. I think it added to the story, and the story was great, and I ended up giving that 4 stars. And okay, so that was challenge number 1. The next challenge was to read a book with heels on the cover. And so this Sophie Kinsella book does have heels on the cover. She's wearing heels right there. And so I counted that one, even though I was supposed to count this one, which is Royce Rolls by Margaret Stohl, because she's wearing heels. But this is narrated by Erin Spencer on audio. And the format of this book is kind of news kind of items, things you would read in a celebrity paper, because it's about a reality TV show, and it just didn't lend itself to the video, or to the audio. So I decided just to DNF it. So put that one aside. Yeah, was not for me. Okay, the next one was read a historical book. And I combined this challenge with the challenge to read something meaningful. I read Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. I had been meaning to read this forever. I had it on my shelves and I kept wanting to read it. I decided to listen to it. It's narrated by Kate Forbes, but this was done a long time ago in terms of an audiobook, and so it's not terribly well done. Nothing against Kate Forbes, but she did not embody the voice of a young girl who is the main character here. This is a story about a man named Michael Hosea, and he's named that for a reason. The book is based on the biblical story of the prophet Hosea, who marries a prostitute, and when she keeps going back to that profession, God tells him over and over, you need to pursue her, you need to go back and get her, you need to, that kind of thing. So this is set in 1850, during the time of the gold rush in California. And it's the often tragic story of a girl named Sarah who is sold into prostitution at 8 years old. and horrific things happen to her. And Francine Rivers is very good about not going into a lot of gory details, but you know, it's clear what has happened to her. She then becomes a prostitute, and she becomes the really pretty one, the one everybody wants. And so her life is very meaningless. And so Michael Hosea, who is a farmer in California, is walking down the street one day, and God tells him, you need to marry that woman. So he does. And there's a process of getting there, and then there's a process of what happens after they do get married. So it's just an engaging story, a wonderful story, a story of redemption, and perception, and the way that we just we can't get past certain things that people have either done or been known for, things like that. And then it has a wonderful ending. This is a good sized chunky book, and I read it with my eyes, believe it or not. So I loved it. I'm really glad that I hung in there and did not put this aside and finally got to it, because it was so worth it. So I gave this one 5 stars. So it met those 2 challenges, historical and meaningful. There was a challenge where we were supposed to read a book set in Hollywood. So I picked up Dating You, Hating You by Christina Lauren. I got kind of on a Christina Lauren kick during the month of May, so I'll tell you about that later. But anyway, that is narrated by Shayna Thibodeau and Deacon Lee, both of whom were really good. I'm getting really picky about my narrators lately, and I'm very impatient with ones that I don't like because I don't like the way they phrase things or do it, but these 2 were good. I couldn't remember whether I really liked Shayna Thibodeau or not, because that's a pseudonym for another name of a narrator. I can't remember who it is, but anyway, they were good. They gave the story a lot of emotion, and in all the right places. You felt like you were listening to the characters speak and not narrators imitating character. So, well done. This was predictable but enjoyable. It was about 2 agents, like celebrity talent agents who work in Hollywood, and they get to know each other at a party, and then they are interested in dating and seeing where it goes because they really like each other. And then they find out that their companies that they each work for are now merging, and they're up for the same job. So it gets really interesting after that. Like I say, predictable. I knew who the bad guy was pretty much at the outset, and so it ends in a really positive way, and I just really liked it. Great characters, well written. So yeah, I gave that one 4 stars. And those were all of the challenges except for one. One was read a domestic thriller, and I was in the midst of reading Jonathan Mayberry's Rotten Ruin series, which is a zombie series. And so I got through all the Rotten Ruin books. I got through the new series that's starting, and then I started into the Joe Ledger series, which is I think it was an early spinoff from Rotten Ruin. And Joe Ledger is a guy, this is military special ops, SEAL, secret government agency kind of fiction. Joe Ledger is a lot of fun. And in the first book, there's a bit of a romance going on with another person who is another agent. And so I kind of counted that as my domestic thriller. That was called Patient Zero, and it was narrated by Ray Porter, who is unequaled in the audiobook narrating community. The man is fantastic. Just everything he does is so, so, so good. I mean, there are certain narrators that I just want to say, could you please just narrate everything? And he's one. So thoroughly enjoyed that, and I kind of got on into the Joe Ledger series. Haven't finished it yet. Got tripped up on one of the books. It was just too much for me. And but anyway, so I counted that as my domestic thriller. I did read some other chick lit in the month of May. I had hoped to get through Just Between You and Me. This is by Jenny B. Jones. There is no audio, and I've gotten that far. This is how much time I have had to sit and read. Really want to finish that. It's like you got to commit. Yeah. Flirting An Italian is a book that I still want to get to, and I'll tell you why in just a second. And then When You Were Mine by Rebecca Serle is a DNF for me. It was just way too much high school. Well, then she said, and then he likes her, and then I was going to go, but then he did. It's like, really? No. I'm too old for this stuff. So it's about Rosalind and Romeo. Romeo's name is Rob in this one, and then Juliet is Rosalind's former best friend who has moved away but then comes back to town. And so, yeah, DNF. Just couldn't do it. It is narrated by Sarah Grace, I think is the narrator for this. And she wasn't bad or anything. It's just, I just couldn't. I didn't care. I just didn't care about the characters. I didn't care about anything. I did flip through this just to see what happened at the end because I wanted to know what happened. But same thing. I mean, the end of the story. And so it does not end badly, but yeah, it wasn't my favorite. Those were the three other things that I wanted to read for the chicklitathon and did not get to. Flirting an Italian, the reason I want to read this is because I'm going to Rome. I'm going to Rome in August. Oh, I can't believe it. I just cannot believe it. My daughter is going to England, so I'm going to meet her in England, possibly go to Edinburgh also. And then we're going to head over to Italy, and we're just going to work our way down. I am so excited. Can't wait. I did also read the pick for the month of May for the Happily Ever Afters, which is my book club over on Goodreads. I'll link it below. We read Fumbled. This is by Alexa Martin. It is book 2 in her Playbook series. And Alexa Martin is a former NFL wife. Her husband played for the Denver Broncos. And so now she's a writer, and she writes about what she knows. And so I love football. I love all of it. So I was really looking forward to this one and loved it. It was narrated by Camara, and so well done. It captures all of the cattiness of some of the wives and the coolness of other wives. This is about a girl and a guy who is one of the players. I think he's a wide receiver, and he's like, if you've ever watched NFL football, he's like one of the ones with the really long, like dreadlocks or braids or whatever, hair coming out of his helmet. But they were high school sweethearts, and she got pregnant, and his mother tried to get rid of her, pay her off, get her to have an abortion. She said no, she wasn't going to do that. And so she moved to Denver, and then finds out this guy now is there, and she doesn't know how to introduce him to his son, but ends up doing that, and it's a wonderful romance. And she does address this idea of concussion and the injuries that football players can get from playing professional football. I mean, your brain is loose in your head, and you knock it up against your skull so many times, you're going to have bad things happen. And so that is addressed. I really thought that was important. And as much as I love the game of football, that's a valid concern. You cannot strap your brain in. You can strap your head in, but not your brain. So those guys take some hard hits and pay some big prices for that. They get a lot of money, but maybe not worth it. So that was a fantastic book. I want more. I want more of them. I want more of that football team. I want more of the wives. I want more, all of it, more of all of it. So I gave that one 4 stars. And I did read some other things. I read some more Christina Lauren. I picked up The Unhoneymooners and My Favorite Half Night Stand. And loved those. Kind of got on a roll with Christina Lauren. I've never liked her series. She has it's 2 authors actually. They have a series called Beautiful. It's Beautiful Bastard, and then it goes from there. And I did not like that first book. I DNF'd it. But these other things that I've picked up have been really good. So I've been really kind of amazed that I liked them as well as I have. And I also think that this has reinforced the idea for me that one bad book from an author shouldn't turn you off of the author. I mean, it should, well, depending on the book, I guess. But, you know, in most cases, it's worth it to give the author another try and see if you like them. So I did. So that was Chicklitathon and a little bit more of May. Lots of romance in May. If you've read any of these books, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So let's talk about that in comments. And that is it for now for me. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Oh, baby.